The film opens with a Colonel William Ludlow, Anthony Hopkins, makes the decision to leave the army due to the government's betrayal of Native Americans. He chooses to relocate to a remote area in Montana along with one stab, a Cree friend, to establish a ranch and raise his family. Joining them are Decker, a hired hand and former outlaw, along with his Cree wife Pet and their daughter Isabel. Colonel Ludlow has 3 sons, Alfred, the eldest, Tristan, Brad Pitt, the middle son, and Samuel, the youngest. One stab takes on the role of teaching Tristan the art of hunting. The boys grow up together, forming a strong bond. Alfred, being the most mature, and both Alfred and Tristan hold a deep affection for Samuel. William's spouse Isabel struggles to adjust to the severe Montana winters, prompting her to relocate to the East Coast. As a result, Tristan makes a solemn promise to never mention her again, following her departure from their lives. Subsequently, Tristan begins to spend an increasing amount of time with one stab, who regards him as a son and more. In 1913, at the age of 12, Tristan embarks on a hunting trip and inadvertently disturbs a hibernating grizzly bear. The bear reacts by injuring him, but Tristan manages to sever one of its claws before the bear retreats and disappears into the wilderness. Years later, Samuel returned from Harvard University with his fiancée, Susanna. They were welcomed by his brother Alfred and father William, but Tristan was not present at that moment. As they made their way home, Tristan arrived on horseback and greeted Susanna and his brother Samuel. He also extended a warm welcome to Susanna and congratulated her on her engagement to Samuel. Susanna found Tristan to be quite charming. Upon reaching home, Samuel escorted Susanna to his mother's room. There, Susanna met a young girl named Isabel in the garden. After introducing themselves, Isabel mentioned to Susanna that she will marry Tristan one day. That evening, the family gathered for dinner. Later on, Samuel declared his decision to join the Canadian Expeditionary Force and assist Britain in the war against Germany during World War I. Despite his father's disapproval and insistence that war cannot solve anything, Samuel stood firm in his resolve to go. Alfred also decided to join him. Their father, William, held the belief that war was not the solution to any problem, as he had experienced the horrors of war himself for many years. His only desire was for his 3 sons to live together under one roof. Alfred, witnessing the growing closeness between Tristan and Susanna, became enraged, assuming they had been kissing. Despite Tristan's initial reluctance, he ultimately joined the war after making a solemn promise to Susanna to protect Samuel. Once the boys had left, William and Susanna found themselves unable to remain alone and joined the other Indians in the home, taking their plates with them. In October 1914, the brothers were assigned to the 10th Battalion, CEF. Alfred, who has been commissioned as an officer, leads a charge into no man's land in February 1915. The assault results in significant casualties, with Alfred himself sustaining injuries during the attack. Samuel comes to the realization that he was overly optimistic in believing that war would bring about any resolution. The charge proves unsuccessful, leading to the battalion being ordered to retreat to their own trenches. Samuel also acknowledges that with Tristan by his side, he would not have the opportunity to achieve any personal glory. While visiting Alfred at the field hospital, Tristan discovers that Samuel has volunteered for a perilous reconnaissance mission. In a desperate attempt to protect his brother, Tristan hurries to the scene, but unfortunately arrives too late, as Samuel is left blinded by a mustard gas attack and subsequently gunned down by a German machine gun nest. Tristan stays by Samuel's side until his passing, then removes his brother's heart and sends it back home to be laid to rest at the home yard. Tristan assaults the German lines all alone and returns to camp with the scalps of German soldiers hanging around his neck, horrifying his fellow soldiers. He is discharged, but does not return home. Alfred goes back to Montana, their hometown, and confesses his deep love for Susanna ever since the day she arrived home. He also pleads with her to give herself a chance to love him, but she declines. Tristan returns to their home, where Susanna discovers him weeping over Samuel's grave. She consoles him, and they both return home to dine with his father and eldest brother, Alfred. During the meal, Alfred, consumed by jealousy towards his younger brother and Susanna, Tristan storms out of the dining room. Susanna follows him to calm him down, but as Tristan looks back, he kisses her. Later on, they engage in a sexual encounter. The next day, Alfred informs Susanna that he is leaving. He also confronts Tristan and insists that he cannot make Susanna happy, urging him to marry her instead. Alfred implies that Tristan desired Samuel's demise so that he could have Susanna all to himself. After Alfred departs, Tristan and Susanna continue to live together, and Susanna finds happiness once again. In 1915, Alfred arrived in Helena town and established a successful cattle and grain trading company. Back home, Tristan was burdened with guilt over Samuel's death and felt responsible for driving Alfred away. He decided to leave, informing Susanna that he would be gone for several months. However, Susanna assured him that she would wait for his return. Tristan embarked on a journey around the world aboard a yacht, visiting New Guinea in 1918. Despite Susanna's continuous letters, Tristan finally wrote to her in December 1919, advising her to marry someone else. Upon Alfred's return from Helena with news of running an office in the Congress, he found Susanna in tears. He comforted her, leading to a confrontation with his father William when he discovered them together. William warned Alfred not to interfere, believing Susanna was already involved with Tristan. It was later revealed that Tristan had instructed Susanna to marry another man. When William read the letter from his son, he was overcome with shock, suffered a stroke, and remained silent for years as the ranch fell into disrepair. Susanna marries Alfred, who is now a congressman. Alfred's involvement in business and politics leads him to associate with the O'Banion brothers and James, Irish bootleggers and gangsters. After a long absence, Tristan returns to Montana with a large number of horses, bringing joy to Stab and the rest of the family. Tristan inquires about his father and discovers that he has suffered a stroke and has been unable to speak since Tristan's departure. He also learns that Susanna has married his older brother, Alfred. Later, Tristan travels to Helena to visit his brother's wife, Susanna. Although shocked to see him, he greets her and tells her to say hi and congratulations to his brother Alfred. But Susanna still has Tristan in her heart. Tristan eventually returns to Montana, where he encounters Isabel, a beautiful 20-year-old woman. They fall in love and marry. Alfred informs his wife, Susanna, about Tristan's marriage, but she does not seem pleased with this news of him. Tristan and Isabel now have 2 sons, and Tristan becomes involved in small-scale rum running, selling a particular type of whiskey. This puts him at odds with the O'Banion gang, who warn him about trespassing on their territory. However, Tristan persists in his business endeavors. While Tristan was on his way back to Montana with his family, a group of corrupt police officers working for the gangsters intercepted them. They fired multiple bullets towards the mountain, tragically hitting Isabel and causing her accidental death. Upon realizing his wife's passing, Tristan violently attacked the officers, leaving them severely injured as they fled the scene. After burying his wife, Tristan discovered his brother Alfred in a Montana home, who advised him to surrender and serve a 30-day prison sentence for his actions. Tristan complied and was incarcerated. Susanna, still harboring feelings for Tristan, visited him during his time in prison, but he rejected her advances. Upon his release, Tristan and Decker sought revenge on those responsible for Isabel's death, including one of the O'Banion brothers. Unable to cope with Tristan's rejection, Susanna took her own life. The remaining O'Banion brothers, along with Sheriff Tynert and another police officer, pursued Tristan. At the ranch, William and Alfred defended against the attackers. Alfred reconciled with his father and brother, realizing that Tristan would be blamed for the deaths. Tristan asked Alfred to care for his children and they disposed of the gang members' bodies in the Missouri River. In 1963, an elderly Tristan living in the North Country encountered a grizzly bear while investigating an animal carcass.